Wendy Hamilton, aka Mum, and today I have quite an interesting question I think you'll get quite excited about. The Bible is a very complex book. When do you think you should start introducing a child to the actual Bible as opposed to stories based on the Bible?
Oh, that's easy. From birth.
From birth?
From birth.
Not before birth?
Oh yeah, ideally while they're in the womb. In fact, ideally before they're even conceived, because it's such a foundational document.
So how did you do that for us?
Well, initially, your father started reading when you were born. He would read a whole lot of Bible every night to you, but that didn't last. But anyway, what we did is friends got us onto, it was Bible and cassette in those days, but audio Bible.
And you can probably get on Spotify, and you can certainly get it on YouTube.
Yeah,
these days.
And it was a dramatised version, which was really good too.
Yeah.
And so
it's more like a radio production, really.
Yeah. And it had music in the background, and they had different voice. The better ones had different voices and stuff like that. But they're just reading. They're just absolutely reading the Bible.
What's in here?
What's in there. And so even from being a baby, we used to put it in the background when you went to sleep. And then certainly when you were toddlers and everything, we had 2 times that we had it in the day. We had it when we put you, as you know, your father, Ian wired up the house with
he did. I remember that.
With little speakers into all the rooms and that, and then
we could pipe it through the house.
Yeah, and then we had like a little timer, which you probably don't even need that nowadays. You've probably got something more special. And we would play it. First thing when we got up in the morning, we would just have it quietly going, and so the kids would still be in bed, and we would be going about getting ready for him to go to work and me ready for my day, and we would just have it playing quietly in the background. And then at night, when we put your kids to bed, we would have it piped into the room, and you'd be listening to it. And an interesting thing about this is that you hear these stories about what a nightmare it is to get kids to go to bed. And they have all this delaying tactics and routines. And we never ever had the drink a million drinks of water and stuff like that, because when we put you to bed...
It was nice. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It wasn't
because I never actually asked you from your perspective, but you used to always go to bed very easily, and you just lie there listening to it until you fell off to sleep.
Well, it's actually interesting. And that's the thing. I think that's a common misconception about the Bible, that it's a big, heavy, boring book. But it's actually, a lot of it is actually stories, and very, very good stories.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they've lasted and lasted and lasted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Pharaoh refusing to let the children of Israel go free, that's jolly interesting stuff.
Well, I remember when we tried to have family devotions, and they started for a little bit in the morning and that, and then they were abysmal. They would die.
Oh, they were awful.
Oh, yeah.
So boring.
But it didn't actually really matter, because we had the Bible going in the background and that, and the kids learned huge amounts. You kids learned huge amounts of. You had huge memory banks of it without any effort. And a lot of that was because back in the day it was Bible on cassette. You had to turn the tape over,
and progress through the pack of tapes.
Yes, which theoretically it should have been easy to actually put on a new one when you came to the end of it. But what actually happened is we usually just kept flipping the tape.
A lot of Exodus and Deuteronomy.
Oh gosh, yes. We kept...
Those Jewish laws, they really confused me. I was like, there's an awful lot we're not doing. Used to worry me. But we got stuck in Exodus a lot. And as a result, me and my sister really liked the story of the Exodus, didn't we?
Yes, and one day I was sitting in the lounge and I could hear them. They had tea towels wrapped around their heads, and they had little rods, and Ruth, of course, was Moses.
Of course, naturally.
And Rachel was Aaron.
But this Moses did not have a speech impediment, and this Moses had no problem speaking. And this Moses wasn't letting Aaron get much said.
Yeah, so anyway.
So Dad said, oh, I think we've had enough of Moses. Let's hear something from Aaron. And I've been saying, let my people go, and then I'd been dishing out plagues and
You'd been systematically going through
dishing out the plagues.
frogs and gnats and
let
whatever
there be
they
this,
were.
let there be that.
So
Aaron,
Ian says to Aaron, what do you want to say, Aaron?
to Pharaoh.
To Pharaoh, and Rachel picks up her stick and she goes, "Let there be poos." Now, I figure Pharaoh would have probably let them go a lot quicker if...
It would have been a shorter book.
Yeah, it would have been a shorter book.
I'm sure it would have been a shorter
Rachel
book.
had her way. I figure she fell asleep before all of the rest of the plagues
She must have.
finished.
She just made it up.
So she just made it, and she thought they were the worst plagues she could think of. Well, I think she has a point.
So what part do you think, having the Bible, the actual Bible, because we did have Bible stories as well, but
Yes,
they were more like,
Children's.
what's that word? I think it might be pedagogical, where you have some...
Ooh, don't know that word.
Oh no, yeah, I think it means something that helps you move towards the original text. So it's something that helps you. So we had small Bible stories, but
Yes.
the goal was always to read this. Because in our family, we're not big on reading commentaries about books.
Oh, no.
I mean, we will read them. But
Always the
we
original.
will not read them instead of the original.
Oh, no.
Which I think with the Bible is important, because if any book has been twisted in the course of history, I think it's this one.
Yes, and I think that any books are like that. I mean, I've been working through the American Pilgrims. I've been writing the history
You've been
of that.
working from the original papers.
And I've been working from the original diaries.
Yeah.
And you realise when you're working through the original diaries, I realised that some of the things that have been widely held are not in the diaries and that. So
And it is also true with the Bible, that there are certain things which people think are in the Bible and
they're not
they're
there.
not.
They're not there.
Do you know, I think this is a pretty common thing with education in general though, because I got into a conversation years ago with a woman. I was very young, but I got into a quarrel with a woman over Socrates' Apology, which is a dreadful book. I mean, that's the other thing. There's value in reading the Bible even if you don't like it, because it's a classic.
Yeah.
I don't like Socrates' Apology. And I got into this conversation with this woman, and she was saying junk. Oh, Socrates meant this, and oh, what Socrates was trying to say was this, and he meant this. And I was very young, and I suddenly twigged, and because of the family we come from, it was strange to me, and I suddenly twigged, and I said, have you actually read the book? Have you actually read Socrates' Apology? And she said to me, no, but my understanding of what's in the book
Yeah.
was shocking.
Yeah.
But it was shocking.
Yeah. Well, we don't do that.
No. I mean, we'll read a commentary, but you've got to read the original.
Yeah, because people can say whatever they like.
Yeah. And they have.
And they have.
In 2,000 years, they have, and they've been using this book to back it up.
Yeah, and if you haven't actually read the original, you don't have a plumb line. You don't know what's in there.
No, you don't. So one thing I don't think I struggled with as a small child, even though I was lackluster in every academic pursuit, except possibly vocabulary.
Oh, vocabulary, no. They were very advanced with vocabulary from a
How
young
much
age.
do you think playing this book constantly from when I was baby, how much do you think? Because it's got a very vocabulary rich book. How much do you think that played into it?
Oh, that is such a good question, and it's not one that I've actually thought of
Because
until
I've been
right this
thinking
moment.
about it. Where did I get those? Because I had a great vocabulary.
That's
A
true.
weirdly good vocabulary.
I mean, that was the one thing that you weren't trailing everything behind. I mean,
In fact, it probably made my spelling worse because I was trying to spell these $5 words.
that's true. That's actually true. But I remember, she could hardly walk, and she had a mouth on her with big, long words. And when I went to the toy library and stuff like that, and I'd take my kids, people would be astonished at some of the words that you would come out with. And I didn't find it astonishing at all because I just found it normal. But in hindsight, probably that had a lot to do with
where
it.
was it coming from? Because I did not excel in any other area, so we certainly can't say it was my natural cleverness, because there was no natural cleverness.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, especially since we tried a lot of different versions, but I remember a lot of King James.
Yeah.
A lot of King James.
Yeah. Well, that was the free one. That was
Ah,
the original free one. We didn't get the dramatized one until a little bit later. So originally we had the King James because it had no copyright, so it was free. So that was what we were playing originally for years
Yes.
and years.
And as a result, to this day, even though we didn't do any Shakespeare, I don't have a problem with Shakespeare.
No,
I don't find it hard. And I mean, I may be overestimating how much I'm understanding, but I doubt it because it was the King James Bible was commissioned by King James,
yeah.
who was the monarch after Elizabeth, and she was alive during Shakespeare's time, so
Yeah.
it's the same language. So I think there's an argument.
You know, things like when the King James will have, superfluity of naughtiness, which is talking about wickedness.
Yeah.
So if you...
Or verily, verily, I say unto you, which means it's serious, I mean it, pay attention.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're wanting to read the Bible yourself to find out what's in there, I would suggest a modern day version. It's easy, but and I suggest that for your children as well, training them. But there's a lot to be said with actually just putting in the background a King James Bible, just strictly from the literature point of view.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I feel like that's a huge advantage to me today, because when you start reading back into the older classics, the language does becomes more complex.
Yeah, it does.
And if you've been raised on the King James, it gives you a head start.
Oh yes, because you can decode it much quicker.
But as Dad says, what version should you read? The version you will read.
That's true.
That's what we actually believe. So
that's what we actually believe.
So I think that even if you don't believe in it from a religious point of view, we do. But if you don't, I still think there's something to be said for reading it from a literary point of view.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, just the poetry alone.
Absolutely.
The war horse in the Book of Job. That's beautiful.
And the Psalms, and it's very good for anxiety as well.
It is very good for anxiety. The Psalms.
It's very good for mental health.
It's very, very good for mental health. So in conclusion, we quite like the Bible, in case you missed it. We quite like the Bible, and we think it's a useful book to read, even if you don't believe in it from a religious point of view, because it is one of the great classics.
It is. Well, it's the all-time bestseller.
It is.
Yeah.
So, find yourself a copy and see if you enjoy it. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.